Welcome back to A State of Mind's ACSOM Bulletin. We're a Celtic State of Mind. I'm John Dykes, and today I'm joined by Colin Watt to talk about some of the Celtic issues of today. Colin, welcome to State of Mind Studios. What do you think?
It's very, very impressive, Paul. As I said to you, you've previewed it before, we've seen the videos, but you don't quite understand the size of it and the extent of what you've done until you actually come here, and it's very impressive, and I'm sure you're looking forward to welcoming the best guests from all over the celebrity world to this studio.
Everybody from Ann Budge to Sean Ryder.
And what a story that would be.
I know. Now, when people come into the studio, Colin, I ask them to have a look at the wall of vinyl, pick out a record, because I think that says a lot about an individual. We've had John Colquhoun, we've had David Lowe. You're third up. What record did you choose?
So I chose Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody. Fantastic record. A record that it goes through the annals of history. It's so many different genres pulled together into the one, and I think it does actually summarise myself, because I love a different genre, like a completely different genre. It could be opera, it could be pop, it could be rap, it could be anything. I listen to quite a lot, so when it's all together in the one song, I think that does really summarise me.
Now, you'll be too young to remember it on Wayne's World, won't you?
Just
point of reference. So, as I say, that says a lot about someone's musical taste. I know that you've got a wide variety because you like a bit of DJing. You've got a wee DJ booth in the back. Maybe you'll join us for a session at a later date. But let's get on to the subject of Celtic, because that's what we do on a Celtic State of Mind. Some time ago, you wrote an article for ACSOM.net. You were looking at the goalkeeper situation. I think you were quite happy that Craig Gordon was moving on. It was a big wage off the wage bill. And you actually recommended Barkas at that time. That was some time ago, maybe a month ago. So talk to us, what do you know about the new signing, the new arrival?
So Barkas, when he was originally linked, not a lot was known about him. A lot of people remember him from the game at Celtic Park when they were down to 10 men and still managed to get a 1-each draw against us. He was one of those goalkeepers that you love to hate when he's on the opposition. He was wasting time, he was slowing the game right down, and it played into AEK's favour because they managed to take that 1-each draw back to Athens, and everyone knows what happens after that. But not only that, his shot stopping, from the clips that I've seen from him, is very impressive. He uses his height to command the area, which is something that was lacking in the likes of Scott Bain. I don't think Scott Bain commands his area too well. Great shot stopper, great number 2, but that was the thing that was stopping him from progressing. The only concern I've got with Barkas, and I'm sure it won't take too long for him, is building that relationship with his back four, because that'll become vital for Celtic. Does he speak too much English? I don't know. But the fact that he's been linked with moves to Serie A before suggests to me that we've got a gem in the works. And the fact that it's the most we've spent on a goalkeeper ever, then you've got to think that Stevie Woods especially has looked at him and went, that's the guy that I can coach, and that's the guy that we won for 10 in a row.
You were speaking about him just before we came into the studio there, Colin. You were saying that there was a bid of 7 million plus just last season for him from Italy.
Yeah, from Roma. And as we know, Italian goalkeepers go on to do really well. Look at the ones that have moved to the English Premier League, like Alisson, who's went to Liverpool. So if you're wanted in a league like Italy to make a move to Scotland, it's a good sign.
Now, I'll be sad to see big Fraser Forster going. I'm a big fan. I've spoken about him on the podcast with yourself a fair bit. But when it comes to the point where you actually feel that it's not 100% the player's choice, because from what I've heard and from a very good source is that Forster was gutted that the deal couldn't be done for him to come permanently to Celtic Park. It leaves us with Scott Bain as a number 2. With his experience at his age, at this stage of his career, will he be happy to sit on the bench?
Do you know, it'll be an interesting one. I feel as if Scott Bain's career went from 0 to 100 very quickly. He obviously was the number 1 at Dundee, fell out with Neil McCann famously. I think he said to Neil McCann what a lot of Celtic fans would like to say to him. But moved to Hibs.
Neil's a Celtic fan, you know.
I know he is, but he doesn't really go about it that way. He moved to Hibs, didn't get the game, and then the deal to come to Celtic came along, and it was almost as if it was like a fairy tale, and you couldn't believe it. It was one of those ones like when Manchester City or Chelsea buy an English goalkeeper because they need it for the European squad. there was that sort of signing when Celtic took Bain on loan. But then, out of nothing, he goes and plays at Ibrox. A miraculous save from Morelos. When he pulls the ball off the line, he go on and win that game. He grows into the role, became the number one for a sustained period of time. Will he be comfortable as number two? I think he knows that being at Celtic is going to make him a better goalkeeper. And if you've not got the belief in yourself that you can go on and replace the guy that's going to be number one, then that says a lot about your mentality rather than the position that you've left yourself in. And it's something that I think we'll get on to when we speak about some of the striker options that might be coming into Celtic going forward.
We need at least two top-class goalkeepers. In fact, we need two top-class performers in every position. Some of the positions we've got three. I think midfield, I think we're really well served in the midfield. But we will talk about the striker positions in just a second. When you look at the back four that you've mentioned, and there was a great relationship between Forster and the back four or three last season. I felt, and I've said before, that Forster was Neil Lennon's best signing of his second tenure at Celtic Park, and I stand by that. Hopefully some of the arrivals this season might actually be better, because if we get someone like El Yunusi playing to the kind of standard that I think we've seen glimpses of, then he could tear it up in Scotland if we can get the games. But when you're looking at the centre-half position in particular, I've been saying we need another centre-half. Will we be going into the new season with the cover being Nir Bitton and El Hamid?
Well, considering we're only a couple of days away, I'd say it's probably going to look like the case. I would suggest that probably Celtic's next target point is the European qualifiers and having players in for that. By all accounts, it looks as if we are scouting North America at the moment. Mark McKenzie seems to be quite highly rated, and I believe the reports over in America are that we've had a bid turned down of $1.5 million. There seems to be some sort of fascination among Scottish football that Scott McKenna will make the move to Celtic Park at some point. I hope not. I don't think Scott McKenna's anywhere near Celtic class. But certainly, as we go into this season, we're looking at Christopher Jullien and Chris Aya as our centre defenders, with Nir Bitton and Stephen Welsh as the backups. Maybe El Hamid coming in if Frimpong's going to be a first choice right back. It certainly does suggest to me we're lacking that bit of depth at centre half, and I wouldn't be surprised with the new SPFL loan scenario where each team can have 6 players in on loan, that position's maybe covered by a loan signing coming from down south, maybe Benkovic.
I've mentioned Benkovic. I thought he was a fabulous player for Celtic, and the only reason Neil Lennon didn't play him was because he was forward planning. Obviously, at the end of Lennon's first season back, when he took over from Rodgers, there's been a lot of transfer speculation around Chris Aya. There's actually been a lot of transfer speculation for about 12 months around Aya, a player I rate and regard very, very highly. If a bid of 25 million plus comes in, I think Celtic will sell. You're pretty angry and frustrated at that.
Yeah, I don't understand the scenario where we're going into the chance to make history in the 10th consecutive title in a row, and we're looking at selling any of our assets. This should have been a season. Forward planning, as you mentioned, was made that we go into this season, we strengthen what we need to strengthen, and the title should be ours to lose. But we're going into it like the way we go into almost every other season, where we're still looking at gaps and we're going, we need a loan signing there, we're going to need to replace this guy in 2 years, we're going to need to replace that guy in 2 years. And I think obviously the likes of the virus and things hasn't helped us in that scenario, but we shouldn't really be in a situation where we're looking at saying 2 days before the season starts, we could end up selling Chris Aya and then have to build a brand new defence around Christopher Jullien and 3 other guys.
We've done it before with star players, haven't we, Colin? Where else do we need to strengthen? The obvious one up top?
I think up top, definitely. I see obviously the links with Albion Ajeti. He's apparently in Switzerland to consider his move. Some other teams are interested in him. There's been suggestion that he doesn't know whether he should make the move up because he doesn't know if he'll be able to replace Odsonne Edouard up front. And if you don't have that belief in you as a player that you can be better than the player that's in front of you, then that's probably not the kind of person you want at Celtic Park. I think we're desperately lacking in the wide midfield area. I know you've said the centre and midfield were quite coloured, and I have been impressed with the likes of Sorrow in pre-season. Luke O'Connell was outstanding in the game against Hibs. But certainly out wide, I think we're lacking. Pre-season, we've played Liam Henderson as a left midfielder. Not Liam Henderson, Ewan Henderson. I don't think that's his position. I think he's a number 10 behind the striker. Right midfield, we've got James Forrest. Who else is really there to back them up? Karamoko Dembele's done really well in pre-season, but in the left, all we're really looking at is Mo Elyounoussi. Mikey Johnson looks as if he's going to be out for a couple of months with another injury. It's really hampering his development as he's coming through. I know a lot of people have got a lot of high hopes for him. So we're probably looking at bringing in another left midfielder, right midfielder, and then maybe cover again for the wing back positions, because the likes of Bolly Bolingoli and El Hamid both look to be a wee bit injury prone, and it's not a position you want to be lacking in as we go for. We could be playing 60, 70 games before December.
Yeah. Now, see, when you look at some of the speculation, the McKenna one, I mean, there's been players in the past that we're constantly linked with, and it doesn't happen.
Yep.
Hopefully that'll be one of them. The other one that Tam McManus tried his best to put into the frame was Stephen Fletcher. I discussed it with Kevin Graham. Kevin says I would buy him as a backup, fourth choice striker. Personally, I think we're about 11 years too late on Fletch. He would be a good backup, but I think if he comes up and signs for Aberdeen or even Hibs or a team like that, that's probably a better move for him.
It would be probably a better move in his career. It'd be up to him whether he's happy enough to sit on the bench. We just discussed, Ajeti doesn't want to sit on the bench, but he's at this stage in his career where he's probably looking for his next step. He wants to get back to the Premier League eventually. Stephen Fletcher's coming to the position in his career where he's winding it down. So I can agree with Kevin on that sense, where if he comes up, he could be a good option, especially now that you can throw 5 subs on. That if you're really going for that goal, getting the ball into the box, him using his height, win on headers, flick it on, the sort of Jan Vennegoor role, there's certainly that chance for him. He had a great season last year with Sheffield Wednesday. He's probably still got another year or two in him. If he thinks he can do it at Celtic, then albeit to him, but as you said, he would be a first choice at Aberdeen or Hibs or one of those teams, and it's up to him where he wants his next move to be. I'm sure Neil Lennon, if it came to it on the 1st of August, would turn around and say, we'll give you a deal, but I think there's players a lot further ahead of him in the kind of transfer speculation at the minute.
Talking of transfers, talking of opponents, obviously our first game's coming up on Sunday. What's your thoughts on the dealings of the other clubs in the league? Who are going to be your challengers in your opinion?
Well, the obvious one will probably be, once again, the team from across the city. Again, I don't know what they do there. I think ever since they started again in Division 3, they always seem to average around 15 signings a summer, and it seems to be going that way again. But they seem to rebuild year after year after year. I think they'll really miss the presence of Morelos. I was trying to find the right word to describe what he brings to that team. But he scored a third of their goals last season. Who are they going to replace him with? Someone like Lyndon Dykes? He's nowhere near as good as Morelos, and it's quite hard to say that he's a good striker, but he is. The signings they've picked up, they're spending money that is more than what Celtic spent so far. But have they strengthened the team from the season before? I don't think so. I think as Celtic get into a good run, at the start of the season we've got all the bigger teams at home. If we go into that game on October 17th with a bit of a lead, we could turn that into the momentum turner and keep ploughing towards title number 10. Looking across the league, Aberdeen struggling financially, Hibs, they've done well, brought in some good signings. Nesbitt from Dunfermline, they'll be looking to try and get some goals. I think that's what their team lacks. Across the league, I don't think there's anyone really that will surprise us this year. I think it's almost guaranteed that it will be between Hamilton and St Mirren to see who goes down. Hamilton will always save themselves because they always do. But I think if Celtic get going, utilise their squad, then they'll certainly be the front runners and will hopefully run away with title number 10.
Just one point on what you've mentioned there. Obviously, Rangers might have spent more money, but it wasn't their money.
Well, we all know that.
Now, see, when we spoke again about this, need to get back into the stadiums and the fans are dying to get back in and watch the football, you suggested that you thought it would be around about October. There's been an announcement that from the 14th of September, they'll try and get fans back into the grounds. I mean, that's going to cause issues in itself as to who gets in and who doesn't.
I think there'll certainly be a favouritisation towards the...
Favoritisation?
That's my new
Like
word.
that, well
Yeah.
done. 2 words, stick them together, there you go.
There we go. Get the Collins dictionary and that's it, I'm sorry. But there will be that sort of favouritisation put towards probably our executive season ticket holders, those that hold tickets that get them into like Club Celtic and the Kerrydale Lounge, because they are spending that amount of money. And you can understand that to an extent. But I think the way that we're looking at it, if you look at how France done it, when we had the Viola Trophy and we played PSG, and you look at like Denmark, who had 11,000 in for the Copenhagen game, there is a way to get fans in socially distant. Everyone goes on about this 2 metre rule, but you can go to a pub and only be a metre away. So that's an indoor confined space, probably quite warm as we get into the summer months. Ventilation.
More lax because of the alcohol intake.
Exactly. So if you're saying maybe it's a case of there's 3 seats together and then 2 tucked off, 3 together, you could be looking at somewhere in the region of 30,000 odd fans at Celtic Park. And if it came round that it was you got into one of every other game, I think Celtic fans would accept that at first. Obviously, as it goes on and it becomes more successful, you'll start to see more and more fans getting let in. But that's just the way it's going to be. We have to accept that it will be a gradual implementation of the fans. Everyone wants to be at the Celtic Rangers game on October 17th. It's a month after they're going to start trialling it. There's talks about trialling it just beforehand. The Scotland-Israel game's been discussed. I think Peter Lawwell's very excited about trying to trial this before September as well. There's talks ongoing with the Scottish Government, but a lot of fans thought that we wouldn't be in the grounds before 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So this announcement to me is exciting. I'm looking forward to getting back into the ground. And if there's people that are still quite concerned and don't want to go back into the ground, give me a message and I'll take your ticket for that game.
My only concern is that there's been regional lockdowns elsewhere and you just don't know how this is going to develop. How will you be spending Sunday then? Because just for everybody who is tuning in to our live streams, which we're doing on a daily basis here on a Celtic State of Mind, we'll be covering the game in our own studio just next door there. So we'll be viewing the game maybe half an hour before kick-off, 15 minutes half time, half an hour afterwards, live streaming it, with a number of guests giving us their opinions and their insight or otherwise on the game. How will you be watching it, Colin?
I'm still deciding. But if it comes to it, I'll probably
watch come through and watch it.
Oh, what a drive through that would be. You're talking about regional lockdowns. We've just seen most recently that the outbreaks were from round about my area in Inverclyde. So who knows, we could be in lockdown by then. But no, the plan is probably to either watch it in the local supporters club or to watch it at home. I have to say I've watched all of the test events now that Celtic have put on, the friendlies against Ross County and Hibs. Last night's rewatch of the Lazio Celtic game, which was fantastic. I actually got to see the 90 minutes. Having been there in Rome, I couldn't remember half of it, but it was good to watch it again. I think Celtic have done well with this. I know there's been some teething issues, but they seem to have kind of edged it out and it seems to be working quite well. One tip I'd probably give to fans that are maybe struggling with it, try and log in about 15-20 minutes before the event starts. You will have to listen to Johnny Mack or a random round of applause that they've put in, but it's worth it because when you get in, the streaming is set up. We seem to be doing quite well with it, and I've not really had any issues with it so far. So wherever you're watching it around the world, I know we're all looking forward to this, and we're looking forward to seeing how we can start the road to 10 in a row.
What's your prediction for the game then?
But it's funny because I actually predicted that Celtic would play Hamilton in the first game of the season, way before the supercomputer asked me for its input. We did that. I wrote something quite.
You predicted the goalkeeper when we're getting back into the grounds and the first opponents.
And if you subscribe to a Celtic State of Mind, I will predict this weekend's lottery numbers.
Good on you.
My prediction was that Rogic would score the first goal. It doesn't look as if Rogic's going to play. I'll change that to Ryan Christie to score the first goal. Celtic to beat Hamilton 6-0.
I'm going to go for 3-0. 3-0, first goal, Edouard. Which takes us on to the subject of Lee Griffiths. Lee was left at home as the squad travelled over to France. He got a rollicking, a very public rollicking from Neil Lennon, and he responded to it. Lennon comes back, realises that he's conditioned in the week that they've been away, and he's quite happy with him now. So, I praise Neil Lennon for his management of Lee Griffiths. I think he knows how to manage him.
It's an interesting one, Lee Griffiths. Certainly when the story broke that he was getting left behind and he was saying, oh, he's a bit of stone overweight. When it came out a week later that he was fit again, I wanted to know, A, who was giving him his diet, because I wanted in touch with him, and B, what he'd done in that week, because there's no way that a physical specimen of a football player should lose a stone in a week. Shouldn't gain a stone in a week, but they shouldn't lose a stone in a week. So what was he really doing? But then he came on the park against Hibs and he just looked like the Lee Griffiths of old. And to me, he's still got a part to play in this season if he kind of keeps the head down. He formed a fantastic partnership with Edouard last season. I'd love to see that go again. And do you know what? If this is his last season in a Celtic jersey, then for him, I'm sure he'd love to go out with a high.
I think the way that he'll be utilised and the way that he'll be managed by Neil Lennon will mean that he won't have a very successful season. He is a second choice striker. I pose the question, is Klamala pushing Griffiths for the second choice? Of course he is, and that's down to his conditioning and his attitude. But when it comes down to it, Griffiths knows the way to the back of the net in Scottish football, and he's always going to be good for 20-25 goals if he gets the games called.
Definitely.
And as a backup striker to Edouard, or as a front two when necessary, I think it's pivotal that we keep Lee Griffiths in the right shape, both physically and mentally as well. Now, you're sitting there with your New Balance Celtic training top. We've obviously gone on to Adidas. All the research I've ever done on Celtic jerseys, people say that they would love to see the Adidas jerseys. They've arrived. The second one has been launched officially. We all knew what it looked like. What's your thoughts when you're seeing this close up?
It's a piece of art. It is stunning. We've had discussions on our WhatsApp group that we think this could outsell the home top. There's the memories that flood back just looking at that top, because it reminds you so much of Love Street and the 5-0 victory. And even for someone who wasn't born in that era, to look at that, it's the first time I can remember that we've actually threw back to that era. So we're kind of looking at next year being the 35th anniversary of that. And that's probably one of the reasons that Adidas have brought that kit out. And it is just, it's because it's something that we've not done before, because it touches on the heartstrings of Celtic fans, it will be a big seller. And what I've been impressed with so far with the Adidas kits is it's a simple design, but it's effective.
It is.
And they've not tried something out of the box like New Balance did with the grey and pink number that looked like the Dale Winton TV show Hole in the Wall. You can go and research that one.
I'll need to, because I've no idea what you're talking about, Colin.
Saturday night live entertainment. But they've kept it simple. Even the rumoured third kit, which we've all seen, is simple in its design, but yet something slightly different.
Simple in its style. You know, you're talking about the Love Street there. The minute I see this new kit, I just think of Danny McGrain doing that wee flick and the goal that then ensued. But we did try something under Mike. Remember the lime green kit that we had? I just think he padded in the court because he scored a couple of amazing goals with it. But they didn't quite get it right, did they? Because the collar was black, the shorts, weren't dark green, and they failed to capture the spirit of the Love Street kit. But I think that's what Adidas have done. They've captured the spirit of that 1986 jersey. It had been worn in other games. We spoke about it the other day. Without a sponsor, it was worn against Sporting Lisbon when we beat them 5-0 at Celtic Park. But it's famous for Love Street, always will be. It brings back fond memories, as you say, all these years later, and with that anniversary hovering above us next year. So the black kit, when's that going to be launched?
The black kit, I believe, from what I've heard, won't be launched this month. Well, we're saying this month. We're now going into August. It will be further on in the season. I believe it was around about September time. But with the training kit, the home kit, the away kit, all coming out within sort of 2-3 weeks of each other, maybe it's a good thing for Celtic fans that we can wait to the next payday before we splash out the next kit.
Absolutely, and it's great that when we were in France we didn't have to wear a training kit when we played as well, Colin. Thank you very much for your input. You, again, are a regular guest and will be throughout the season on the Celtic State of Mind. We'll be doing a lot of live broadcasts. And please join us again on Sunday. We will be covering the game against Hamilton, and until then, hopefully you can enjoy your weekend and enjoy our victory on Sunday as we head towards 10 in a row.